Welcome everyone to our shul, the Chabad here at Thornhill Woods. Every year we do a Holocaust lecture, and among the many other educational programs that we do throughout the year, we had the merit to have with us here today a Holocaust lecture that's 101 years old, Baruch Hashem. Before we introduce him, we just want to give Jack a blessing, a bracha, that you shall live to 120. Once we get to 120, we'll extend it to 160 to 180, B'ezrat Hashem.
I don't want.
There's not a show with good health. You'll be dancing like a 20-year-old.
I don't want.
All right. Healthy for many more years, B'ezrat Hashem. All right. Help me in welcoming our dear guest for today, Jack Boeki.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for coming here and listening to me, what happened to me during the Second World War, including, of course, the Holocaust and my military service in the Secret Service. Thank you again for coming here. And I was born in the Netherlands, in a city by the name of Rotterdam. My parents were non-religious Jews. We all knew we were Jews, but we did not practice anything about the Jewish religion. I don't think my father would ever went to a shul or anything. And I grew up. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm close enough. Oh. As I said, I was brought up non-religious, but a very funny thing happened because my parents never participated in any Jewish remembrance or anything. But when April came and Pesach came, our house was full of matzahs. And that's amazing. And also Friday was a special night. I never knew why Friday was a special night, but it was a special night. So anyway, when I was 16 years old, I was in high school. I had approximately a year and a half of high school when the Germans invaded without a declaration of war. Excuse me. And, well, they invaded. And of course, we were all very scared. And, but nothing happened. They were very nice. I know. My daughter knows more about it than I do. Right? No. No, the Germans behaved very, very nicely. Nothing about Jews or anything. They went into the stores, went buying stuff, spent a lot of money. The store owners were very happy because there was some kind of a depression at the time. And so they were very happy with the fact that the Germans came and emptied their stores. But that didn't last long. What happened, though, is my friends and I, we had dancing lessons. And at one point in time, whether or not the Germans were here or not, we wanted to go dancing and fun and dance with a girl. So what happened is we found a very nice place to go dancing. It was on a small lake. There were little boats going there. And I was sitting there with two friends, and there was a little orchestra was playing, tuning up, and there was a very friendly atmosphere, very nice. But then, out of nowhere, Yuda! And there was a tall, blonde man in civilian clothes with his finger outstretched at me. And he came to my table and he bent over and he said, Bist du Juda? Are you a Jew? I didn't know what to. I didn't know what to say. The, the spit of his hatred was on my face. He said, Rouse! 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 And we left.
What does it mean?
We left on trembling feet and out. And this was the first time that I met or engaged or was engaged into anti-Semitism of the worst kinds. And that, of course, is where the Holocaust really started. But the Holocaust didn't start in one big move. The first thing we heard is everybody, because this is a war zone, has to turn in, or no, has to report to City Hall to get an ID, because everybody needs an ID. So all the Dutch people went to the City Hall or wherever it was, and got an ID with your picture on it, and you had to pay for that as well. That was number one thing. That was innocent enough not to suspect of anything. But then about a month later, we were advised that anybody who had more than two Jewish grandparents must report to the City Hall and get an identification on their iPad. And not the iPad, but they didn't have iPads at that time. No. When we went there, we had to show our ID that we had that notice, and they got a big fat J on it. Jew! That was the first move that the Germans did in regards to the Holocaust. Things were actually moved in a rapid sequence, because the next thing we learned is Jews are not allowed to have radios. You have to turn in your radio, which we all did, of course. Jews do not have or are not allowed to have bicycles. Turn in your bicycles. Jews are not allowed to go to schools or high school or universities. You can't learn anymore. And it went on in very slow sequence, but this is how it started. And what really happened, it became almost impossible to live, because you couldn't go shopping anymore. You had to be at home at 7 o'clock. If you would not be if you would still be in the street after 7 o'clock, you could be arrested or be even put in this concentration camp. So it became absolutely so difficult. Yeah,
They didn't know that yet,
they didn't know that.
that they would be put in a concentration camp.
No, that's true. That the concentration camps did not exist. That was never mentioned. But we knew that if they did something wrong for the Germans, you'll be put somewhere, but not very nice. That was right. So as things became so very difficult to live, my parents said, children, we are peaceful people, and we seem to be being approached by evil. And that's why we decide that you go in hiding. We'll find a place for you to hide, because this is not going to last long. You know, the Canadians, or not the Canadians, the British will come here and they will throw them out. Don't worry about it, but we will send you away into hiding. So me and my sister, my younger sister by the name of Leah, my daughter, well, I'll come to that later. We went into hiding. Do you know what it means to be in hiding? That this, you go somewhere, you cannot show yourself in front of a window because nobody should find out that you're there as a Jew, and that's illegal, right? Uh, at night when you go to the washroom, don't flush because people will hear it. Maybe the neighbors will hear it and say, "Oh, how could it be that there's a flush?" So that means in hiding. When people, for example, visited, so I have a social visit to the people who were hiding me, I had to hide in a cupboard. I couldn't be seen. So that meant to be hiding. This went on for a couple of months until we were advised that we were probably betrayed and we will probably be caught by the Nazis because the Nazis were, they were all Nazis. So I escaped, or I escaped. I left that hiding place with my sister. I have no idea where my sister went, but I was a 16-year-old boy and I was in the street. I'd never been in the street before like that. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know how to work, how to do anything. No food, no nothing. So if you really ask me where I went and what I did at that point, I don't remember. The only thing I remember that I went to farmers or to farms. I slept in the haystack. I slept sometimes with cows or pigs. And this is what happened to a 16-year-old boy who was used to a good life, and the life didn't exist anymore. Well, I do not really remember everything that I did and what happened to me because it's a little while ago, and my memory is not that good anymore. But I know that I went back to my city eventually. I went back to my city where Rotterdam, which was my hometown, and I really don't know what happened next, but it became so difficult at that point in time to find hiding places. And the one reason for that is that the Germans said, if you hide Jews and we find you, you are going to be incarcerated as well with the Jews. So it became even more, became even more afraid to hide Jews. And of course, well, what do you mean by
Well, you get paid.
huh?
If you give up a Jew, you get.
Oh yeah.
No, no. That became later. That you mean that the
Money to get a Jew. If you give in a Jew, you get money.
oh yeah. Well, that came actually later. Not there. But anyway, I was still 16. What I didn't tell you is I was a sportsman. I was physically very strong. Physically, I was very strong. And I also was a soccer player. And I was so, in my soccer, I was so fast that nobody could catch up with me. And I had legs like cannonballs. They were so strong. So anyway, as I want to explain to you, I went to Amsterdam to find a cousin of mine whom I suspected or not suspected. I said to myself, "Well, this is Big Harry. That was his name, and I'm sure he will be able to find a hiding place for me." So I took the train, which was against the law to take a train to Amsterdam, and I was scared, of course. And by the time I reached Amsterdam, I took a streetcar to his address. And as I stand on the streetcar, I felt eyes on me. eyes on me. And I could feel it. And yes, I was right. Because very shortly thereafter, a short guy in a leather coat comes to me. Give me your papers. I said, yeah, you know, now I had my ID there, of course, and this was an ID which was falsified. It wasn't my name anymore. It had no big J on it. I was not wearing a star, so I was in, I was in trouble already before anything else. So he looked at my ID without, and it was not very difficult to see that my ID was falsified. Come with me! And he stopped the streetcar and he pushed me out in the street, and now I'm walking next to this guy. And where am I going? I said, nowhere I was going. What am I doing? Oh my God. And I forgot to tell you, I had in my right hand a briefcase with a few things in it. I don't remember. And a friend of mine had given me a fedora to cover my pitch black hair. Because in the Netherlands, most people are blonde. So when you're a Jewish fellow like me with black hair, you stand out like a sore thumb, right? So I'm walking next to this guy, with my dad, and I heard, you know, if they take you into the Gestapo, you'll never come out alive. And I said to myself, you know, this guy's going to take me to the Gestapo. I said, I got to do something.
Louder.
I beg your pardon?
Louder. You got to be into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you follow all that? Yeah, any questions so far? Okay. So I'm walking with this guy, and all of a sudden, I've got ready to stop to start walking, running. And what happened as I wanted to go up, my briefcase that I had in my right hand got in between my legs, and I stumbled. I fell to the ground. And what happens when you fall to the ground and you have a heavy coat on? The coat slicks from your shoulders. And that's what happened to me. I am now on the floor with my coat half gone from my shoulders, but the Gestapo guy next to me, he also had fallen because he grabbed me on my left shoulder and he fell with me on top of me. So I tried to crawl out of my coat while he is in front of me. And he noticed that I'm crawling out. And he grabbed my leg so I couldn't crawl anymore. And when I saw that behind, and I looked behind, and my left cannonball foot started to say, hey, hey, right in his face about 10 times. And he didn't move anymore.
Broke his nose.
And that, of course, when I got up and ran away. And that was my first escape from the Holocaust or from anti-Semitism. I don't know. Well, I mentioned that. I mentioned that, Annalea. Annalea knows my story better than I do. I'm just kidding, okay? So as I reached my cousin, and I told him what had happened to me because I was without an overcoat. He gave me an overcoat, gave me some money to go back to Rotterdam on the train again. And then he looked at my shoe. My left shoe was full of blood, but it wasn't my blood. So this is actually a lot.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
presenting.
Okay. I've already mentioned it. So anyway, this was my first escape out of the 10 that will follow, out of the 9 that will follow, because if you
We're
are
gonna go
go,
through all of them though.
huh?
We don't have time.
No, no, I know. If you would to if you were to hear all the escapes that I did, they are incredible. And the reason why I'm telling you incredible, when I got out of the army, and I went back to the Netherlands because I had to do things, and people said, "Wow, you came out of the camps." I said, "No, you did not come out of the camp." Well, what did you do? I was in the army, and when I told them exactly what happened, as I'm telling you now, I could see, I, I could see a face of incredible. People didn't believe me of the things that happened. Anyway, I am going to tell you now about the second escape that I had. What I forgot to tell you is right after the Germany invaded the Netherlands, which is now a way back, uh, they demanded an immediate surrender of of the Dutch army, which they did. But unfortunately, the reply that the Dutch army gave the Germans was delayed, and as a result, the Germans became impatient and bombed the city to smithereens. The whole Rotterdam city was bombed, destroyed, including our home. We were without a home. We were homeless. And my father, who had 7 retail stores, they were all destroyed. So he was destroyed. And so, as you can understand, in wartime, uh, when you're homeless, uh, you start looking for places to live. Eventually, my parents, and don't forget, I was only 16 years, I was a kid. I didn't think the way adults thought. They didn't have to worry about anything, or they had to worry about everything. And I said, sure, as a child, as a young child, I carried about nothing. I was afraid, of course, of the Germans. They were bad people. But I mean, I had the things that my parents needed and 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 I was thinking of, I didn't. So eventually, my father found a very beautiful apartment in Rotterdam, and we moved in there. And I now have to explain to you what that apartment was like. It was an apartment building, and it had 2 or 3 floors. But in order to go to the second floor, you had to climb a very steep stair. And well, yeah.
I see.
So one day I was like a tramp, being not knowing where to go at night, almost beyond curfew. You had to be inside curfew, otherwise you got arrested. And it so happened that I was well, I was in the neighborhood of the place where my parents had rented a beautiful apartment. And I went in my pocket, I found the key. I said, "Oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. I'm so hungry. For one night, I can go back to that places. It won't be so dangerous, you know." So I climbed those big stairs, and I finally reached the apartment, and I opened the door, and there's 2 people sitting there. I said, "What are you guys doing here?" "Oh, you hear me?"
Yes.
Better. Oh, better? Yeah, well, this thing runs away from me. I don't know if it's doing it on purpose or not. Anyway, so, and I open the door and I see these 2 people sitting. Yeah, but you see, I have to go this way. I break my neck this way. Huh?
John, yeah, you can hear you.
What?
You can hear. They can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? Thank you. I'm so
Sorry
happy.
about it.
I'm happy. I said, what are you people doing here? Your father has hired us to take care of the place because your father is now in a war camp. We don't know where your mother is. So we are here to take care of the beautiful furniture and then the thing. I said, well, thank you very much. I'm very grateful for that. I said, but I'm so hungry and or not hungry, I'm so sleepy. I'm going to go to my bed, which is my bed, right? And I fell into a deep sleep. I did fall into deep sleep. The next morning I wake up, something, and I wake up and there's a gun on my head. And there's a guy standing next to me. Get dressed, get dressed. No, in between, I thought the Germans or the Gestapo or whoever, they cut off to me because they found out what happened to me or what I did in Amsterdam, right? That's what I thought. So I said, oh, God, no, they got me. Anyway, I got dressed. The guy says, uh, uh, go to the staircase. Now, the staircase is, can you see the staircase? It's about 35 steps. And I'm standing on top of that staircase. And he's standing there. I said, go down. And instead of going down, I jumped. I jumped 5, 6, 7 stairs. I don't know how I don't forget I was an extremely strong fellow with very strong legs. So I could withstand it. I jumped so fast. I said, fast now that by the time I got down, he was still standing up there because he was an older guy, right? Then I opened the door and there were still more concrete stairs that I had to go. You see these concrete stairs? These are pictures of it, which we took after this. And by the time I got down here, he was still up, or maybe on his way down. And I ran away, turned the corner, and by the time I looked at the corner, he was down there. And then I escaped again. That was the number 2 escape.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah, I found the key in the pocket. There's the gun. Yeah. Okay, all that is
Okay.
Oh, okay, now, the next thing that happened is a miracle. I was visiting my daughter, not my daughter. I didn't have a daughter at that time. I have a daughter now. By the way, that's Anna Leia, my daughter. My daughter too. That's my wife. Uh, uh, so I'm now visiting my sister, Hannah. Now, in between the story that I had 2 sisters. One was Hannah, and the other one was Leah, and both were killed in the Holocaust. And when this girl was born, I called her Anna Leah. That's why she got her name for. Anne-Marie, Anna Leah. So this is in between. So now I visit my sister Hannah, who has her family with her husband and 2 children, and we're living in peace. But of course, the Holocaust was already going on, and well, when I walked in, oh yeah, and then I found out that my parents were temporarily in hiding there, so I found my parents as well, and we were very happy and whatnot until there was a bang on the door. And I said, oh, yeah. So I was already preconditioned to what was going to happen to me. 2 Gestapo men rushed in. I got up, ran through the kitchen, through the living room, into the kitchen, and behind the kitchen was a door that opened into a little small garden. And the garden was surrounded. No, was. I can't find the word. Sometimes happens to me
There
because
was a hedge.
it was a hedge about that much high. I jumped, and behind the hedge was another Gestapo guy heading my way out, of course. I jumped over the hedge on top of the Gestapo man who fell backwards. And as I landed on him, I strangled my ankle,
Twisted.
my ankle. Couldn't walk anymore. I limped away, and the guy started shooting at me. Now he was a bad shot. Otherwise, if he was a good shot, I wouldn't be sitting here now. But anyway, he missed. But they caught me, and they imprisoned me. They sent me into jail. I was in jail for 4 or 5 days. You. We found this after the war. After the war, we found this is the card of arrest of Jack Boeki, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, we found that my daughter and I found it. That shows that I was in jail for 4 days. And after the 4 days, my cell door opened, and one of the Gestapo says, "We're sending you to the to Westerbork," which was not a concentration camp, but Westerbork in Holland was a gathering camp where all the Jewish people who were in
Transit car.
well,
Transit car.
it was
Transit.
it was more a transit camp. So I was on my way to Westerbork. So I was again put on cufflinks and
Cufflinks.
cufflinks.
Handcuffs. Cufflinks are the things that go. The really pretty things that go here.
Oh yes, I didn't. I didn't. I didn't know that. Thank you very much, lady. That's my daughter. Did I tell you about my daughter? Not only not only my daughter, she's my favorite daughter. Okay. Anyway, I am now on my. I still have the cufflinks on. I got 4 guards around me. When we arrived in Amsterdam. Now Amsterdam is about 40, 50 miles away from Rotterdam, so it took about half an hour to get there. And when the trains arrived, the guards said, "The Jews must clear their own luggage and bring it to the front of the station where buses are stand, and they have to put the luggage into the bus." So we need volunteers. So I was one of the first ones to. No, I was not alone. I was with 50, 60, maybe 100 other people who are also going, same as me. And I picked up a yellow suitcase, put it on my shoulders, and now I walk away from the platform towards the exit, surrounded by 4 guards that guarded me. So I finally I reached the buses in front, or one of the buses. I put the suitcase in there, walked back with the 4 guards around me. I go back to the platform, picked up a bag like this, a bag. It was not a pillow bag. It was some kind of we call it a duffel bag, something like that. And I put it on my shoulder, walked back again towards the middle of the station, which you would, which you will see here. You see the middle of the station? And when I reached the middle of the station, by God, or whatever it is, 4 or 5 trains arrived at other stations and discharged their passengers, and all these passengers, they stream out to the middle of where I am standing or walking with the guards. So at one moment in time, I couldn't see the guards anymore. So what did I do? As I'm surrounded by people, I turned the bag upside down, and the people said, "Oh, let me help you, let me help you." And when I looked, I dug up, and when I looked, there's no more guards. Out of the station. But now, this is not the end of the story. For those of you who've been in Amsterdam,
Oh, the handcuffs were removed when he was putting the suitcases on the
yeah, I know I had to. So, for you people who are familiar with the station, with the railroad station in Amsterdam, eh, right across is a bridge, and that bridge leads to the red light district. And so I read. Now, I forgot also to tell you that it was towards the evening, and I can't remember that word. Like this? No, 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 no. The fact that you have to turn the lights off.
Oh yeah, so there was
How do you call it?
there was a curfew
Blackout. Blackout.
blackout. So
It's
you
the
had
blackout.
lights on.
So there's blackout. So as a result of the blackout, the ladies of the night, who usually sit behind the window, were not sitting there because you couldn't see anything. So they were walking in the street, right, plying their thing. So here's this 17-year-old kid walking among them, and here is what I did. I went to one of the prostitutes. I said, "Can I borrow your kerchief?" She says, "Sure, sure. What do you need it for?" I said, "I just need it." So I took the kerchief, put it around my neck like this, rolled up my pants, and started walking because I was sure they were following me, and that there's no way that they are going to follow a girl instead of a young man. So I walked, and that was my third escape. This is how I escaped. Now, the fourth escape is
No, don't count. Just
Hmm.
just you're gonna get all mixed up. Just follow that.
Look at le plan rouge. Yeah, well, le drapeau français. Okay, so it's you what you. Well, if I have to tell all the details, there will be you'll be still sitting here listening to me next week. So that's not necessary. So we found out. I mean, there were people who were helping me, and we found out that there were people who were working for the Germans, and they were looking for people to hire to work for the Germans because the Germans needed manpower to build all the fortifications of the Atlantic Wall, which they had worked, which they had built, and so I found out about that, and I went to ask. I said, how does it work? I mean, would you hire me? He said, well, we need people. We need people. And to make a long story short, I said, okay, when can we go? They said, well, we have a train going next week, and the train goes to France, and you'll go in a camp, and you'll be slept. You have a bed, you have breakfast, you have everything there, as long as you work for the Germans. I said, well, count me in. So a couple of weeks later, I went to the station in Rotterdam and mounted a train to go to France. And the train was full of German soldiers. They were on furlough. So anyway, as a result of the fact that it was a German train, there were no custom inspections or anything. We went straight from Holland right into Paris. And here is I was maybe 17 years old, and here's Mr. Boeki, Jack Boeki. Oh, I'm sorry, because of the fact that I had to hide being Jewish, I had changed my name. The false papers that I then had were Piet Lutger, or in French, Pierre Luger, when I came to France. In Paris, I won't go into too much details. I got in touch with Dutch people who were associated with the with the coffee beater, and Van Houten. These people were active in the on the resistance, and they said, and of course they didn't know me as Jack; they knew me as Pierre, or Peter, or Pierre. They said, Pierre or Peter, do not stay in Paris. Paris is way too dangerous for you, because the Germans are looking for young people. They want people. They need people. They sometimes they lock the subway stations, and anybody who is a young kid, they pick up and they put them on lorries, and they'll never see them again, or they go to Germany. So they said, it's not smart for you to stay in Paris. And they said, we will find a farmer for you, probably a Dutch farmer, so that you can communicate with them, and they will hire you. They will not pay you, but you run this for the work that you do. And so the Mrs. What's her name again? Van Houten. She said, when you come to Auxerre, which is the city where you're supposed to go, here is a sign. Here's how you walk. This, you go there, you go here, you go there, and you'll find the farmer, and he will hire you. So I took the train to Auxerre, which is about 60 or 100 miles away from Paris, and I arrived in Auxerre. Oh my God. The whole station is covered with German soldiers, French militia, and the road is barred because everybody who leaves who leaves the station has to show ID. I said, oh my God. Anyway, I go there. I see the Germans. Now, I had, of course, again, I forgot to tell you, when I was hired by these two people to work for the German, they gave me a placard here, and it says here, this man works for the German army, and I gave him free passes. So I showed that to the German guard. He said, "Oh, okay, I'm the guard. But the French militia, they said, votre papier, monsieur le capitaine, le bec à bord, comment le pays, hein? Amical sur le man, comment? Ah, they arrest me. Tu es un spion, an espion. You are a spy. I said, what do you mean I'm a spy of a young... Anyway, to make this the long story short, which answers in a miracle, they arrested me. They took me to their headquarters. They locked me up in a dark room. I was sitting in that dark room all day long. I was being interrogated and being constantly accused of, you're a spy, you're a spy, you're a spy. They also had taken my little suitcase that I had, they tore it open and they found that little piece of paper that Mrs. Uh, uh, Van Vliet- you know, it's such a long time ago, and I keep forgetting these names, And that's because I'm 29 years of age. And when you're 29 years of age, you're bound to forget things, which happens to me once in a while. Anyway, uh, they also found that little piece of paper that Mrs. Van Houten has. So they say, you see, you're a spy. You're from London, and and we're going to put you against the wall. Well, that's the end. So towards the end of the evening, they said, you're going to meet our chief. And I was led into another kind of a room, and here's this chief sitting in a big desk like this with his yellow uniform on, and he starts interrogating me as well. And he also says, "You're a spy. You're a spy." I said, "I'm not a spy. I'm a young man." And then at one point in time, he stopped, and he says, "You know, I think I know what you're hiding from me." He says, "Come with me." And I had to go with me. He gave me back the false paper that I had and the thing that the German that the man who hired the German who hired me for the German war, he gave it back to me, and he opened the door, and I said, "Oh my God!" He said in French, "Run as fast as you can. Don't look back. Run and go into safety." That was another mistake. But that was a miracle. That was a miracle because here was a man. What? Now, yeah, I'm coming up. What really happened that I found out in brief and later is at the time that I arrived at the station. Goodbye. Oh, hello.
Oh, wait. Is he okay there? No, you can't sit there. Sorry. Blocking the camera. And you want to sit here? You could sit here.
Okay. What happened is when I left the station a day or two before, enemy or Canadian, not Canadian, British paratroopers were seen descending in France, and they were looking for those paratroopers, and they thought I was one of them, and that's the reason I got arrested. But anyway, I guess I guess that either the chief or thought, suspected that I was Jewish or that I was one of the spies, and he was probably in cahoots with them. Anyway, that is the uh, that's that's but what does it say here?
No.
No, okay. So that's one that was another mistake, another escape that I had. The last escape is even more ridiculous, more not ridiculous, more unbelievable. I went back to Paris. I saw the people who helped me, the Van Houten, and they couldn't believe what happened to me in Auxerre. And they said, "We will find you another Dutch farmer who will do the same thing as we promised you. You can work there, and he won't pay your salary, but for the work, you know." Anyway, I went to Pamphou, the village that at Pamphou-en-Brie, which is about 60 or 70 miles from Paris. I arrived there. The Dutch farmer welcomed me and I started working there for at least 5, 6 months. But what happened is the food there was so bad that I started to lose weight. And I, I thought, oh my God, they they had they had a whole in the basement. I found a big barrel full of beans, and they were all sour. And that's what they fed me every day, sour beans. And but they had a name for it. Was I don't want to repeat it. And then I found out because I was working one day in the field that I had a little friend who helped me sometimes, and he took no, not yet, not yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot to tell.
Okay, so do that one.
Else.
Hold on.
Okay.
He's gonna come step.
What?
Salisbury.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
The Dutch farmer. Well, you're sitting a little bit. Can you move a little bit to the right? A little bit, because then the lady there can see. So,
no,
no, not too much. Good. Now you're okay. Now you're okay. He's a blue. This guy is a blue jay. Okay, Mr. Blue Jay. Anyway, uh, what I forgot to tell you is while I was with the Dutch farmer who fed me beans every day, sour beans every day, he said, and of course, again, my name was not Jack anymore. It was false. I had false papers on which I was called Pierre Luger or Peter Lutger in Pierre. And he says, I have contacts in Montreux, in the village of Montreux. The police there are my friends, and they can issue what they call in French a laissez-passer. A laissez-passer is a document that authorizes you to work for me in France, and you'll be okay. I said, well, let's do that. And that is how I got a French laissez-passer, which I still have. And you can see it here, right? There it is. That is an authorization to work legally in France for the farmers. Anyway, so when I had that, and that's when I want to come back to the fact that a little friend of mine, he was working with me, and he goes into his pocket and he takes out a chocolate bar. I said, chocolate bar? Where'd you get that? He says, well, they're not on the rations. I said, what rations? So now I found out that the farmer who was in cahoots with the police had not only received my laissez-passer, but also my ration cards for food and clothing. And not only that he received it, but he was selling it at the black market. So that's why I was being fed nothing. You understand? So when I found that out, there was a big argument with him, and I left. And my little friend found me a French farmer who hired me immediately. But the only thing he said, that man said, he says, I will hire you, but I have no bedroom. So the only thing what we will do is we will make a door in the stable, and then we'll cut it off with the cows and the pigs, and then you can sleep in the stable. And that's where I slept for about a couple of months. So I was very happy because the food was good. The food was excellent, Now what happens is actually the thing that changed my life. In the middle of the night, my door in the stable opens up, and here is the mayor of the little village of Panfou. He stands in front of me. Now, I had met the mayor a couple of times before, so we knew each other. And he says in French to me, Est-ce que tu parles français? Do you, est-ce que tu parles anglais? Do you speak English? I said, yeah, well, quite well. He says, viens avec moi, come with me. And I said to him, I was suspicious. What are you going to do to me? Uh, Did he find out I'm a Jew, basically? Uh, he said, no, 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 viens avec moi. And he takes me to a place which I thought was his place, but it wasn't. That is, as you see here, there is a well. It is a well, but not like this, but the sides of the well short off, and on top of the hole is a cover, and he pushed the cover away, and out come two faces. They were living in that well. One was a man with a beard, and one was a young man in a pilot's costume, and they were hiding in there. And then after a short conversation, I found out that the man with the beard is the commander of the OSS. Now nobody knows who knows who knows of the OSS. You do?
Well, it's behind you.
Oh, it's bar. The smart people. Okay, OSS was an American spy organization that was covered all over the world, and they were active in France. And unfortunately, what happened is all their agents were either captured or killed, and he was the commander, and he was the only one left. Now, at the time, I didn't know what OSS was, but he said, we need we need help. Can you help us? And this is how I started to work for the OSS. I became an intelligence officer. Probably, not probably. I can find the word again.
Wait, take a breath.
But,
Have a drink.
oh, I can't have a drink.
Have a breath, because you've been talking for almost an hour straight. Almost an hour straight.
If I tell you what's inside, then you won't believe me. It's horrible.
Oh, it's whiskey.
It's bourbons.
It's BS.
Jack Daniel. You know Jack Daniels? He and me went to different schools together. See, kidding aside, the commander of the OSS, which at the time that I'm speaking, I didn't know what OSS was, but I soon realized that intelligence work had to be done. And he explained to me, I need a radio transmitter. And he says, can you try to find anything like that? Can you find so that we can communicate back to our headquarters in London, so that we can continue our work? So I started working for the OSS predominantly in Paris. I became what they call a pointer and an executor. Now, a pointer is somebody who points out this guy, and then somebody else takes care of this guy. What I mean, you'll figure out yourself. When I pointed out a building, that building was blown up in no time. I did this work for a short while, but I also tried to find somebody who could build or who could find a radio transmitter. And then I found a young man. No, I found a teacher who said, I have probably a student who is able to convert to change a radio, an ordinary radio into a transmitter. And I found that guy, and to make a long story short, I smuggled on the death threats, of course, that radio transmitter from Paris into Pont-Fouambry, so that the OSS could communicate again with with their head office in London. I don't want to mention that.
No, you should mention that.
Huh?
That definitely have to mention that.
Well, it happened. What also happened is shortly thereafter, we found out that the SS was constantly searching for the commander of the OSS, whose code name, by the way, I didn't mention, was Claude. I never found out his real name, but I heard later that this SS that the SS came to a farm.
But no, tell them how you found out.
I don't remember.
Well, you got word that they were going to do a raid on your farm and you
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah, so
So tell them. They don't know that.
okay. Do you understand now?
Okay.
I don't know what you mean. We found out.
Yes.
We found out through information. I don't remember who or what or why that the SS was on their way to raid the farm to just search for Claude, who was hiding in the well. Well, when we did find out that they were coming, we got some curtains from the mayor's house, and okay. In order to understand this, you have to see this. This is a wall. This is a well, right? Like this.
Into the ground.
Into the ground. However, this well was not only that, but there was a cutout here, like this on the side, and you could live in there. It was suspended with wooden bars and whatnot, and there were oil lamps, and that's where Claude spent the night, just to be sure not to be caught by anything. So that's how the well looks from the from the inside. From the outside, you can see nothing. So what we did is there was also a ladder, because in order to get out of the well, you needed a ladder to climb up, right? So the mayor, who was a carpenter by profession, he cut the ladder in two so it folded up. They could hide it inside instead of leaving it outside. And also, what we did is we took the curtains of the mayor's house, and we covered the entrance to the cutout. There was a green, a greenish type of a curtain hanging. So if and when the Germans came and looked, they wouldn't see anything, which in fact they did. They did look at them, but they didn't see anything. So this is how we saved him. And a short time thereafter, when he already had the transmitter, and he did
Get called back to.
yeah, the OSS in England called Claude back to England, and well, what happened is an airplane, a special airplane, which was called a Lysander. Well, you see, this is not the original, but the British intelligence service, the MI5, no, MI2, they organized this. They dropped regularly, only when there was moonlight. So they call it the moonlight flights. They dropped agents off or picked them up. And Claude was supposed to be picked up by a licensor like this. And I was there with them. And we were waiting and waiting, waiting. And the reason that the airplane did not show up is there was no moon. And only when the moon, that was easier for them to land. And about 2 weeks after laying in the field, a licensor did land. Claude ran after him. After then, they opened the belly door. He climbed in, and I was behind him, and I had also a package with him. I gave him the package. He pulled the package in, and at the same time he pulled the package in, he pulled me inside. And that was the end of my Holocaust. And that is how I ended up in England. I was interrogated by MI5, who, and I finally could say, no, I'm not Pierre Ludget or Peter Lutger. I am Jack Boeki. I am a Jewish man, a Jewish young man, a student. I was still a student then. I said, and now, but technically, when I was in England, under the auspices of the OSS, I was still a Dutch citizen. And the MI5 or embassy, I forgot which one, they turned me over to the Dutch government. The Dutch government was in exile in England during the war. And the Dutch Queen was there as well. So when they found out I was there, they said, you're a Dutchman, you have to join the Dutch army because we are still we are still at war, between England and Indonesia. And then my friend, who became my friend, he became more my father actually, and he came out in an American uniform with Captain Barr, and he said, no, this young man is under our auspices, and he's being sent to the United States for training, and you can't touch him. So the OSS was overpowering, of course. You couldn't touch the OSS. And I was sent to the United States. In the United States, I arrived there, and I'm going to talk to you about this. I do not remember exactly whether I ended in Baltimore or in Boston, but I believe it was Boston. And there were two guys standing there waiting for me, and Claude had given me a big envelope. What I was not allowed to open that envelope. I gave it to those two guys, and they took me to a restaurant because it was early in the morning. I was on a ship, and when I went to the restaurant, they ordered pancakes, and that was the first time that I tasted American pancakes, and I still love them. Yeah. Instead of, and then I was sent to Camp Ritchie. Has anybody heard of Camp Ritchie?
The Ritchie Boys. Some people saw the movie.
Analia, Amelie, please. I'm asking if anybody Camp Ritchie was an intelligence service camp, a secret camp where people were trained for counter espionage, and that's where that's why I joined the Army, the U.S. Army, and got training as a counterintelligence agent. Now, at this point in time, after I was enlisted, I was sent to Georgia to Camp Benning to boot training, basic training, and and then again I was back to counterintelligence to make it explainable to you. is OSS is what they call offensive intelligence, meaning spy and spy or kill. CIC, which is counterintelligence, is defensive intelligence. It's preventing the enemy to make to make espionage. And well, no, forget it, forget it, forget it. More or less, this is the end of my story because after my training, I landed on WW2 in Normandy, and I can tell you more about war criminals that I have arrested. I did interrogation. I was also trained as a pilot for photo intelligence, and I think that I I would like to finish here and open it up for questions. I'm sure that some of you have questions. I'll be so happy to answer them.
Okay, hold on one sec. And then, yeah, give a break. Yeah, give a break. Okay. We're going to take a break here. How?
Just a few. First of all, let's hear a round of applause for Jack.
I did a live
Certainly an incredible story with many, many miracles. And the reality in life is that every person that survived the war had many, many miracles. My grandparents also were Holocaust survivors. And I just want to share something very short. And that is when my grandfather finally made it to America, people told him, "Why are you still living a life like a Jew? You're in America." And the answer was, but thanks to him that I'm here today as a rabbi, the biggest spit in the face I could give to Hitler is that I educate my children, that they should know what it means to be a Jew. And he educated all of his 5 kids going for school, eventually yeshiva. And like I said, I'm one of his grandsons, a Holocaust survivor. And it was thanks to his courage that he had that we're here today. And I believe it's very important that we know this is because everything that we're going through, especially since October 7, we have to remember one thing. And that is, like I tell people all the time, Am Yisrael Chai. There's no question about it. The Jewish nation went through hardships, but we're here and we're here to stay. The only question that we have to ask, am I going to be part of Am Yisrael? Is my family going to be part of Am Yisrael? So when we hear such incredible stories, we see Hashem chose certain people that should have these unbelievable miracles. And we have to realize everyone that's here today is the leap in the chain with the next generation. So I believe we'll give Jack just a minute. We'll sing together. Am Yisrael, 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 all right. You ready for questions now? We have a minute?
Yeah, so you want to press the next slide? And another one, yeah. And then the next. So, yeah, landing D-Day +2, which is 2 days after D-Day with his infantry division. And he landed on the beach in Normandy, Utah Beach, right? And so part of his, yeah, go ahead. Part of his, feels like we missed.
These two pictures are 2 days after D-Day, after the landing. Yeah.
And then one more. Wait. Oh.
No, that's Nuremberg.
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead.
That's March. We entered Nuremberg on March 1945.
Yeah.
And that's a picture of Dave.
Somebody is holding out the white flag. You can see that the surrender. So what my dad's team did is they swept through France and made their way towards Germany, and they were going through towns, liberating towns, and securing uh, anything to do with communications. So, like, they would the telephones, the post office. They would be arrested.
All that counterintelligence.
Yeah, all that counterintelligence stuff. And then eventually made their way through to Nuremberg, where they were stationed at the Nuremberg trials, the building. They were protecting the building. They were dealing with all the ins and outs, the security of the Nuremberg trial, the building. They were also doing it, arresting war criminals, doing all that fun stuff. If you go to the next.
This is
Oh, can I ask a question so people can hear? What happened to you when you were in charge of security at Nuremberg and you
I was running sure.
Oh yeah, okay, hold on. That's another
the radio? The radio.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
The guy that fixed your radio. Can you tell it little?
Well, of course.
Story. Okay, but just let him get to this slide here, and then, oh no, the next one. The next one. So this is his team.
These are all secret agents.
He's the youngest. If you see the little arrow there, he's the youngest of the team. Everyone was professionals, lawyers,
Lawyers, police.
professors, teachers. And so you want to tell the story about going into.
No, first the story.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, during in 1945, when the war was over, General Eisenhower decided that communication or fraternization with the Germans for all American personnel was forbidden. So, in other words, there was a fraternization ban for all the GIs. You know what a GI is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, do you know what it stands for?
Government issues.
Government issue. Everything that we had was government. Our watches, our underwear, our hankies, everything was government issue. So no American could speak or do anything with the Germans. That, of course, was for the ordinary GIs or officers, but not for a guy like me, because I had all our CIC agents, because we needed to speak to people, to find out things. We also had an office where the Germans could come in and complain or to us and tell us, we know of a Nazi hiding there, so we would go out and arrest them. So since that did not, I mean, we were above the law, the CIC agents. So one day I found out that my radio was repaired, and it was in the basement of the Palace of Justice where the trials were being held.
Nuremberg.
In Nuremberg, okay? So since I was in that building, in and out, every day long, the MPs knew me. So when they saw me coming in my Jeep, they said, yeah, they didn't hold me back because there was no restriction for me. So that one particular night, I decided to go out. Stupid me, I was what they then called out of uniform. Out of uniform means no head, no necktie, no trip ticket, because you needed a trip ticket for your no driver's license. So when I was in that building, talking to that that fellow who had repaired my radio, I hear, "Shoulder!" And I looked up, and there is a full colonel
Full colonel.
a full colonel with his gun aimed at me. He said, "Soldier, you're fraternizing." I said, yes, sir, but I had nothing to prove. He said, arrest that guy. I was arrested by the MPs who knew me, and they say, Jack Boeki, and I was put in a cell. So I am one of the few people who could say I was in jail together with the 14 war criminals that were on trial there. I was in jail with them. I didn't see them, but I was.
The same prison, but yeah.
Yeah.
But he was found to be drunk, the colonel,
The colonel was drunk and was sent back to the United States. Yeah.
for putting him in jail, basically.
Yeah, but he wasn't drunk. He was drunk on duty.
Okay, so so one of my dad's duties was, if you go,
Oh, nice.
yeah, was mass interrogation, where SS were hiding in
No.
no, well, they were hiding their identity in this population, and so he would have
I was ordered to ferret out war criminals in an American POW camp. Now, what happened is the SSers, or people who were guilty of war crimes, they took their uniform off and they were hiding among the ordinary soldiers. I'm just an ordinary soldier. And it was my job to ferret out and find out who and what they was. So we did it by what is by uh, 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 so we found I was in that camp. I was surrounded by by MPs to protect me. They had guns on me because I was in the camp with 50,000 German soldiers, prisoners, and many of them were SSers, and the SSers were then automatic arrest category. You were an SSer, you automatically arrested. So it was now up to me to find out who is hiding among you. So what I did is I had a big book, and I said, I speak German, of course, and I had a bullhorn. I have here a book signed by the President of the United States. In it, we know all the names of the war criminals that are among you, which, of course, a lie. It was not you. So anybody who ever was a member of the SS stepped forward. There was always one or two that stepped forward. Anybody who was ever a member of the Gestapo stepped forward. There was always one or two that stepped forward. And this is how I found out war criminals. Anybody who was ever a capo. Now, you know what a capo is? Capital of the concentration camp guard. And there was one, he stepped forward, and he was that big. And I walked up to him, I said in German, how many Jews did you kill? And he said, he was scared, of course. I don't know. And I let him have it. Unfortunately, this is against the law. In the American Army, you do not, and you are not allowed, according to the Geneva Convention, and it was observed that I beat that particular guy, and the complaint was put in, and the commander of the camp found out about it, and he wanted to court-martial it, and I explained who I was, and then he dropped it. That's the story my daddy wants me to tell you. Who has any questions for me, other than
How did you find out when they?
Wait, any questions on this side?
How did you find?
Wait, oh, here, hold on, just one sec. Just one sec. One question at the back there.
I mean, it's a loaded question, but do you think that we're in any danger right now, October 7th, of going down the same road, or do you think we're going to be able to avoid it?
it's a beginning. It's the beginning of what I dread, because in Germany it started by words. In Toronto it starts also with words. I am definitely very concerned about what's happening. I'm also very concerned about this beautiful city that has a corrupt mayor. A mayor who sides with 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 murder, with evil, with the Hamas. I mean, she should resign, and we should all send petitions to have her resign. I did.
How did you guys up in Canada?
How did?
I just ended up here in Canada. The question is, how did you end up in Canada?
Oh, I ended up with my buddy. What else is new?
Do you ever think about living in Israel?
But
Do you ever think about or consider living in Israel?
why?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
Why?
No, it's a man. No.
Well, first of all, he had no family left, right? So he went back to Holland and everyone was killed. That's it.
Only survivor?
Yeah, and
I'm the only survivor of an entire generation.
a distant family member, like a distant family member, he met them by complete blue.
Oh yeah.
That was another miracle.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he became friends with their family and they ended up immigrating to Canada because there was nothing left. There was nothing left but bad memories in Holland, right? No one was there. He had no family left. So his close friends that he made, they were going to move to Canada. So he figured they both there. And it's also close to the United States because there's a long story, but he didn't end up going back to the States, or not back.
No,
He didn't end up going back to the States because he would have gotten the GI Bill. He was eligible from his service. He had enough service points to go to the States and become a citizen, get all the rights that a GI would get. But different things happened. Anyway, he ended up in Canada because of the handbook stuff.
Jack, did it change in any way how you feel about your Judaism, the war, and your survival story? Did it change any way your Jewishness?
Not really.
Not really.
Jack, Tamara is
I am.
here. Come from Holland.
Where's
Amar?
dear?
Tamara, show yourself, please.
Tamara.
Elia, I was going to call her Suzanne.
I didn't see her. Tamara, hi.
Okay, don't stand in front of the.
But,
Please
Jack,
sit down.
explain to people how you knew that they had been with. Explain how you.
No. Sit down, please. Sit down. Okay.
They weren't.
To make you acquainted, or to make you more familiar with me, I am a non-religious Jew. I do not believe in religion. I don't believe in it. I've seen too much to understand or to really agree with things that don't exist and that are stories that are made up. So I am sorry if the rabbi hears me. I do not believe. I do not believe.
Although he always says, I'm a lucky guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what, there are all these miracles. Something was looking out for me. So
What?
his interpretation is different, but it still encompasses the belief.
Jack, what is the biggest lesson we should all learn from your story?
What is the biggest lesson
We should all learn from your story.
that you should learn from this story?
Yeah.
What is the lesson?
Well, you would say never
Well,
fight for your freedom.
well, yeah. Don't let anybody take away your rights. Don't let anybody take away what you want to do. If you want to do something, and if it's within the law, because it has to be within. I mean, if you decide to kill somebody, leave that to me. But if you decide to do something that you really are strongly in favor of, do it. Don't let anybody dissuade you. To give you an example, of many times I was, for example, to give you an example, I was standing maybe on an airport, and I'm standing here, and there's a bar here, or there's a line here, and then somebody comes up to me, sir, you can't stand here. I said, no, why not? Why can't I stand here? I want to stand here, and I stand here. So I don't let anybody dissuade me.
Wait, how's the progress? I know you're trying to write a book. You tell.
Oh yeah. So the book is in front of a publisher at the moment. And we're just waiting for notes to respond to the publisher's notes. So it's in process.
Jack, what are your
Wait,
literature?
Oh, hold on. Just a second. Just a second. There's somebody way at the back. Hold on.
So I just want to know at what points
After reading, I just Ewer, did you start learning what happened to your back?
Oh yeah. At what point did you find out what happened to your family?
I only about it's a sad story. Well, in the army or in
Kurt, please. I don't know.
while I was in the army during combat, the 90th, not the 90th, the 27th Infantry Division of the United States Army discovered a concentration camp. It was, according to the information I have, the first concentration camp that the American Army discovered. And the name of that concentration camp was Ohrdorf, which is not far from Gullen in Germany. And of course, the boys walked in there, and what they saw was something that we're not going to talk about. What happened is General Eisenhower heard about this, and in his wisdom, he says, I will go there to see what has happened. I will see that in the future, no one and nobody will ever say that didn't happen. I want to go there myself. And he did go there. But General Eisenhower was the supreme commander of the Allied forces. He was like the president of the United States. And according to the traditions, and according to not the tradition, the written law is he must be protected. Now, if you see an American president, you see the Secret Service around him. He protected. So what happened is when General Eisenhower decided to go to Ohrdorf, we at the CIC were advised to send a team and to protect the president to go to Ohrdorf. I was one of them who was. So when General Eisenhower came to Ohrdorf, and I was there,
Patton. And Patton.
and Patton, and Bradley, and a few others. General Eisenhower, what he saw, he vomited. This is not well known, but I've seen it. So there is a report that Patton vomited, but it's not true. It was General Eisenhower who vomited. I was at Ohrdorf, and what I see there, I cannot tell you, because my eyes did not believe what I saw. My nose did not smell what I smelled. Okay? And that is,
No, but they asked you about your parents.
yeah. So when I saw this,
When were you?
and 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 I heard of the other concentration camps and the films that were shown, that I knew that my parents were that bad. And of course, I was right. My parents, my entire family was killed in April 1943 in a death camp called Sobibor. They were put in a train for 3 or 4 days without food or anything. And when they arrived, they were led into they were told to take a shower, and that shower turned out to be a gas chamber upon arrival. So this well, that's how they died, and that's what I knew. And I am the only survivor of an entire family. Okay.
I just want to add one thing I found fascinating. It's something that I mentioned many times, and that is, how do we even know we're Jewish? What's the secret of Jewish survival? And if you listen in the beginning when Jack spoke, he said, although he grew up in a non-religious family, but every Pesach they had matzah in the house.
Yeah.
Every Friday night was a special right.
Yeah.
And so these are the things that keep the Jewish going. And Hashem should help that we should always remember we're Jewish, not because God forbid this anti-Semitism. It's because of these great things that we have, our traditions, and that dates back for thousands of years to Rami Tzipiyap. I want to share something very, very personal to me. That's also related to the Holocaust. As I mentioned before, I'm a survivor. I'm a grandson of survivors. My grandfather, Rav Moshe Hildesheim, he had a brother named Sholem Hildesheim, and he survived the war by being a partisan. After the war, he went back to his town in Poland, and all the Jews were gone. And the anti-Semites stole all different articles from the Jewish people, and the little money that my great uncle had, he bought it from him. Although my great uncle was not religious, but he had a tremendous collection of Judaica, and he lived in Brussels. And I visited him a few times. One of the times that I went to visit him, last time I went to visit him, he gave me a special gift. Every Saturday night, we make Havdalah. We make a special prayer, which we separate between Shabbat and the Modain, the weekday. And we also smell clothes. We make a special blessing. It's called Barei Minei Psamim. So this is old. This is from a family that did not survive. It's old silver. He bought it. It'd be obviously it's way over 100 years. And every single Saturday night, when I make Havdalah, this is what I use. And I have in mind, Am Yisrael Chai. This family is not around, but here I'm sitting together with my family, and many times in the community with hundreds of people, and we use this to make with special prayer every single Saturday night, and that is the continuity of the Jewish people. But I always ask people, what is the secret of Jewish survival? How do you even know you're Jewish? I don't care from which family you come from. And it was fascinating to hear what Jack shared, dating back to many years ago, though his family was not religious, but he remembers the house full of matzah on Pesach.
Yeah.
And Friday night being special. So this is something very interesting just to think about. What is it that you remember from your parents, your grandparents, and to make sure that we continue on to the next generation?
Thank you, Rabbi.
Not only that, but when I was 13, my parents said, you have to become a bar mitzvah.
They sent him to Cheder.
They sent me to Hader. I didn't know I didn't know.
What happened when you went to...
You weren't so not religious. You weren't so not religious. You had a mitzvah and a prayer.
No, you wouldn't want to know what I did.
All right.
What did you do when you went to Cheder?
I went to Hader. Well, yeah, it was Hader, sure. And that was totally strange for me, you know, the Moses and they. Oh my God! Anyway, there was a kid in the same class, and I think he insulted me, and being Jack, the kind of guy, and I jumped on him. We started rolling in the.
Is that true that he told? Don't let him finish. He's trying to finish the story.
Dirty Jew to you?
I don't know whatever he said. I was joking and talk. So we're rolling, and there's a rabbi there, and he wants to pick me up. Excuse me, Deborah. And I pulled him on his beard, and I pulled.
So he got kicked out.
He spelled it from his beard.
This is true.
It was self-serving because he played soccer, and that interrupt the Sunday school and soccer talk.
Yeah.
That's
When we go back to your time in Nuremberg with
Yeah.
the Nazis, how were you able to determine, besides asking the Nazis to come forward, how else were you able to determine
Right.
who was?
Explain to people.
Well, how else were you able to determine who was a war criminal or a capo?
Well, by interrogation. By us.
And tattoos too, right?
That they will.
Let him tell.
First of all, there's an interrogation. There is also information that's available, and by combining that in that information, we would determine if or what he was during the Nazi regime, which was usually refused by no, I didn't, but we knew better. And another thing is when I was ordered in to go to a prison of war camp, a POW camp, to ferret out the war criminals. I think I told you, I said, who was ever and who was ever. And then by the end of my questioning, it said, nobody else ever? Nobody else. And then I said, hand off, take off your shirts and take off your jackets. And then every SSer had a tattoo here. And we saw many tattoos, and that's how we arrested them.
The Jewish resistance claimed it poisoned the bread in Nuremberg for those.
That is a truth that I've heard about it. Whether it is a true story or not, I don't know. But there were teams of partisans who went out to known Nazis and killed them. And they just went to the door, opened the door. Are you so-and-so? Yeah, poof, like later. That I know is true.
Do you know about that network that would funnel the Nazis out of Europe into South
Yes,
America?
I know about that, yeah. That's scandalous. And you know who is responsible for that? The Pope and the Catholic Church. They helped them. Okay? Yeah.
They would hide them in their monasteries and everything.
Yeah. No, also as well.
How would they help them?
Oh, yeah.
You tell us how you bet.
What?
Wait, hold on. There's a question here. Go ahead. Hold on, sir.
It was a Canadian army that liberated Holland.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
We here talk about.
Oh, no, that's not true. We were part of a delegation of Canadian
That's
soldiers
right.
that were celebrating the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Netherlands. And that was a huge celebration
Yeah.
in the Netherlands and in Canada. We were invited as part of it, even though my dad wasn't part of that. He still fought for the Allies, so they wanted to invite him along, and also because he was Dutch.
That's right.
But we were part of those celebrations.
Yeah.
But those were also happening in the Netherlands, and they're very, yes, go ahead.
In May, at
It was
Nathan Phillips Square, the Dutch government gave away 80,000 tulips.
tulips.
And I was there with the ambassador of the Netherlands, and we became very good friends. Anyway, so now we were involved in the liberation. I was not involved in the but you know what they said, that it was very apropos. They said, you may not have been involved in the liberation of the Netherlands, but you landed on a different beach, which is true.
What's your question? What's your name?
Esther.
Esther.
And I just want to say that it's like taught in our school curriculum that yeah
What is taught?
that kind of help.
Oh, the Netherlands. But do I teach the Holocaust in your curriculum?
I think that's grade 6.
Grade 6. Okay.
But that's a Jewish school?
No. Really?
People, I got a message for you. It's probably I'm not, again. I'm not a rabbi, and I may be wrong, but Jews have been pursued for $4,000. Is it so? 4,000 there.
Accumulation theory.
Okay. All right. The first ones were the Babylonians. They're not there anymore. The Egyptians. They're not there anymore.
They are.
We are still there.
So what it is, that's it.